LB 1165 has many in the Omaha community excited about what potential it brings, including those in the Omaha Chamber of Commerce. I spoke with Heath Mello, President and CEO of the Greater Omaha Chamber, earlier today to tell us more about what this means. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you, John.
So, I want to start from the top. So, recent data from the barometer report from the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce shows that the Greater Omaha area is in increased competition for jobs, talent, those kinds of things. How does the Grow the Good Life Act help address those issues for the Omaha business leaders?
Well, LB 1165 was an economic development proposal that was really rooted in data and action. And we spent about 7 months in 2025 going through an arduous process of utilizing our barometer data, exploring what other regions and states were doing around economic development, especially around competitiveness against each other, that ultimately created the Chamber's Omaha Competes report. And LB 1165 is an outgrowth of that Omaha Competes agenda, where really we're trying to focus on helping local businesses in Nebraska who have a strong presence to be able to expand those operations here in the Greater Omaha region, but also across the state of Nebraska. And so there's been a lot of opportunity that we've noticed through this process, and with the passage of LB 1165, we feel we're in a better position now to compete for those jobs and opportunities that currently lie elsewhere around the country.
Let's dwell a little bit more on Omaha Competes. What exactly is that, and what does it mean for the community?
Well, Omaha Competes was a multi-month effort bringing together economic development practitioners, tax experts, as well as some of our chamber members together to talk through our regional economic competitiveness, both from an economic development perspective, but also a talent and workforce perspective. And after being able to pull together not just local data and local research, but really traveling, I would say, the path of exploring what states and regions are doing really, really well in economic development, we were able to pull in some of the best practices across the country into a comprehensive policy and initiative kind of blueprint, where it really laid out here is step by step what we think needs to happen in terms of changing public policy to make not just Greater Omaha, but the state of Nebraska more competitive. And I'd simply say this legislative session, the legislators, Governor Pillen, did a tremendous amount of work in terms of trying to make us more competitive. 1165 was one of those key priorities, Grow the Good Life Act. But there was a host of other bills that they ultimately passed that really helped reposition the metro area and the state of Nebraska to be more competitive in the years to come.
When it comes to Business Innovation Act funding, how is that money already having impacts here in the metro?
Glad you brought up the Business Innovation Act, because that was one of the proposals in Omaha Competes, was not just starting to unfreeze that money, but arguably start to double down on that program, realizing the impact it has is tremendous, both in terms of economic impact, but also high-wage jobs. And since the governor's announcement back in late December that unfroze some of the state funding, this legislative session, we were able to support the governor's effort to reallocate a new funding source to continue to fund the Business Innovation Act moving forward, which creates space for us to be able to see more funding be put into those grants that help high-wage, high-demand, high-skilled jobs coming from technology companies, new advanced manufacturers, startups that are really trying to grow the economy of the future. So we're very excited to see not just LB 1165 pass, but the reaffirmation, I would say, of the Business Innovation Act funding that really positions Nebraska to be more competitive with this growing new economy in the future.
Now, outside of LB 1165, it's been a big year with the legislative session for the business community. Can you share some highlights outside of that on how they're impacting various bills impacting the Omaha community?
Well, we took the very aggressive approach with Omaha Competes back at the end of 2025 to lay out what we felt were some real fundamental opportunities for us to take in a short 60-day legislative session, realizing that the state was going to have limited resources due to the state's budget challenges. And so LB 1165 was by far the foundational legislative proposal in terms of the Grow the Good Life Act, really focusing on economic development competitiveness, helped us reaffirm our commitment to retain Union Pacific's headquarters, as well as help them relocate jobs from other places across the country, helps other companies here headquartered in Nebraska relocate jobs and expand job opportunities very high wage job opportunities here in the metro and across Nebraska, but other proposals that really were foundational as well. The ongoing funding of the Business Innovation Act, the reallocation or removement, I would say, of the Intern Nebraska program from the Department of Economic Development to align it with our other workforce development programs in the Nebraska Department of Labor. The new apprenticeship proposal the governor put out as well that creates a more fundamental, foundational apprenticeship model and programming function for the Nebraska Department of Labor that brings in business, education, and community partners to really drive new apprenticeship programs across not just Omaha, but across the whole state of Nebraska. That in concert with, candidly, some real unique local economic development opportunities in tools that really impact the greater Omaha area. The ability to create new financing mechanisms for redevelopment was very foundational to what we saw, as well as strengthening the opportunities for inland port authorities in the metro region. Overall, I'd say it was a very, very good year for economic development when it comes to our ability to start to reposition where Nebraska needs to go, particularly in a short 60-day legislative session.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Heath.
Appreciate it, John. Thanks so much.
Remember, if you missed any part of this show or want to watch it again, it's available on the Very Local app. All KETV News Watch 7 reports are there on demand, and it's all free. Download the app for Roku, Amazon Fire, or anywhere you find new apps. I'm John Grinvalds. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here next Sunday morning for KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.